It's fate time! Hello and welcome to another figure review. Today we're going to have a look at the figma number 559. It's Saber, Nero Claudius in the bright version. And oh my god, you know me, I'm already like a huge simp for the Nero Claudius Saber. I love the butt window, the see-through dress, and the traditional royal gold and red, but this bright version? That's a whole nother level of fan service. And this one is, by the way, the new version of the Bride. We got one many years ago, which I do have at hand, so we'll have a look at them side by side. But for now, let's get out of the box and have a look at the Bride. Size of the wife, she stands at about, let's see, 13? Almost 14? 13 and a half to the top of the hat and a little over 14 to the top of the hat dress. That goes for the centimeters and your inches. It's like pretty much five and a half at the top of the hat. Jesus, and the hat dress would be like a little shy of 5.6. Size comparisons. Here's Jolter, the original Saber Nero Claudius, the previous Nero Bride, the SH figure art Son Goku, Naka Michelangelo, and Darkseid. It's comparison time, and I hadn't had that in a long while. So, let's have a look at the new Nero and the old one. New on the left, old on the right, first and foremost. They had a different, little bit of a different choice in colors. As you can tell, there's a lot more of a muted tone in the hair, and the new one is a lot more colorful. The headdress, it stands out a little bit more. This one seems a lot more flat, which, I mean, that really depends on your preference. Also, the white seems to be a lot brighter, a lot cleaner. Same for the translucent headdress. We got some on that. We got the butt window on both sides. I don't know what that was. But I feel like the new one is a lot better viewable. As for the detail in the back, yeah, they seem to have a lot more wrinkles in the cloth. And like on the seam line in the middle, there's a little bit more going on. Back to the front area. Now, also right off the bat, the new one is a tiny bit taller. They seem to have cut it off just a little bit. As far as detail goes, here the new one is a lot more refined in the chains around the neck and the locks and all the kind of bands that go around the figure. And also, I feel like the silver, the zipper and whatnot are a lot more bright, a lot more shiny, a lot more metallic. And also, you have the gold on the side over here, which they didn't really paint on the other one. There's some detail lacking on the old version. And yeah, the main thing that does stand out negatively, I feel like, in the new one is that they made this ugly hinge and this beautiful torso. I mean, look at this hourglass shape on the old one, kind of ruined in the new one. Just a little bit. The sacrifice of articulation looks about the same in the glove department. And then for the belt, which is important here, is that the belt is connected to her to the rope in the back. In the old one, in the new one, we don't have that. It's two single pieces which you can rotate around, so it doesn't conflict with that. Then we have the 5 swivels in the new one, and no 5 swivels in the old one, which once again, old one kind of wins out on that part. And down to the boots. It's overall a lot more detailed. They added the gold, which is just completely missing in the old version, and that's that. Other than that, I'm gonna have just a quick overlook of this figure. I mean, we already looked at the detail, but the face sculpt is absolutely beautiful. You have the big eyes with some detail in there. The flowers in the headdress are nicely painted. Haven't had any issues with the paint in general with this figure. You got the ribbon, which is flowing a little bit to the side, and the translucent headdress, or the veil, whatever you want to call it, has a little bit of orange gold in the lower half, and all the symbols printed on there. And yes, the butt window looks fine and juicy as always. Am I getting a little bit too heavy on that? Anyway, we have the chain, which goes around the neck in front. It ends on the lock, the big golden lock, and the straps with the belt buckles on there. Very fine detail. Also, the buttons that go around on both sides have the gold in there. All of that looks very clean. Same on the lower half. And really, yeah, the only thing that really disrupts the figure is this ugly hinge? More on that later. I'll vent. You know what? I'll vent on the hinge right now. I think it's ugly. I think it doesn't really accomplish that much. It's kind of wobbly. It's not stable. It's not tight. And they could have done this a lot better if you just cut it up. Do like a soft plastic diaper pod. Could have been covered up with the belts and whatnot and just put a ball in there so it has some rotation other than just back and forth movement, and it would have looked a lot cleaner than what we have over here. So that was the vent on the hinge part, which sucks. Then we have another buckle in the glove. I mean, paint-wise and detail-wise, this figure looks fantastic. I don't really have much to complain when it comes to that. Have some more belt buckles going around and the gold. And as I was saying, you can rotate these belt parts on its own, and you have the big belt buckle just pegged in the front. And then we have the entire back part with the rope, which is all burned up. Little bit of a gray, like a dark brown tone to it. Has a great look and some more detail also in the see-through translucent decorations in the back. And it's butt time, which unfortunately you can barely see. They have the entire mold of the rope just kind of lifted up a bit too much. And then also we have the 5 swivels and some more detail in the back, down to the high heels with the light blue on there, and a couple more chains. It's all kind of chained up. Is that how they see marriage in the Fate universe? I don't know. Thinking of which, is there like lore behind this costume, or is it just a costume? Because it's a bride, but there's like a lot of like chains and locks on it. So if there's any bigger meaning behind that, let me know in the comments. I try to look up the lore behind it, but I always just get like, oh, this is the costume with the stats in the game, which I don't really care for. But anyway, let's move on. Let's have a look at the articulation and what they actually did better. Obviously, this one is a lot more articulated than the old one, but is that for the better? We shall find out. The hat moves back and forth quite nicely. They left enough room, and I guess that's why the veil is a little bit more in the back. Does tilt side to side, and does swivel all the way around. I'm just kind of clashing over here, but I did forget to show it, but the veil also swivels a little bit from left to right. Yeah, that's kind of working better. Then also we have a butterfly joint, so you can move the hands forward quite nicely. And in that butterfly joint, we also have the double ball combination. Have like one ball pack and a butterfly joint, and another ball hinge that goes into the shoulder. As such, you can rotate it, bring it up on the big hinge, but you can also move the ball in the butterfly joint around, so you can get some really nice poses with that back and forth motion. Then we have a simple ball hinge in the elbow and another ball hinge in the hand, so you can bring that up and down and also swivel it around. And also I think you have a little bit of rotation in this half. Then for the chest area, can move that forward and back fairly decent. Does tilt side to side, and it does. I think you might be able to get it all around, but I don't want to force it because that's just going to leave some scratches, and that's not really great for your figure. Also the boba. Who has the bigger boba? I think like the new one. Yeah, yeah, the big one's definitely gotten ballooned a little bit in some parts. Then we have the awful hinge. As I mentioned, it's kind of wobbly and it only goes back and forth. There's no side-to-side movement, there's no swiveling on there, so it sucks. Cut it up, make a ball joint in there, and that's it. Then we have the belt part, which is connected to ball hinges in the back. Kind of convoluted, but it looks clean enough, I feel like. You can even move that all the way to the back. Obviously, it does stand out just a teensy tiny bit, but still, I think it's hidden quite nice in there. So you can bring it to the back and also rotate it on the ball, swivel it around. And then for the entire rope part, let me get that out of the way just to show you that. We have some ball hinges in the back, so same thing. Can move that out, and if you rotate it on the ball, you can get it in a completely different angle. So you get it for more action poses, or even just to help her stand up. You can get it really in a good pose, so very happy with that. The part in the middle, though, does not rotate, but I feel like it's big enough, so that's not really an issue. You don't really have any big holes in it. Then we have the leg, which does move up quite nicely. Doesn't really move. Well, it does move out to the side, but it gets blocked a little bit by everything in the back. And then, speaking of back, it doesn't really move to the back, because once again, they started it a little bit too low, could have been higher up, and you can also rotate it on the ball in there. But if you don't like that, you do have a thigh swivel. I don't like the thigh swivel. It just... what does this accomplish? It just cuts up the beautiful sculpt and the paint job and all the work they put in it, and it looks ugly. Don't do those. This is like Marvel... that's like Marvel Legends kind of stuff. And that's not to knock on Marvel Legends, but those are like $20, $25 figures. This is like close to 100, depending on how and where you get it. But yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. Okay. Then we have the ball hinge in the knee. Does cut up all the detail in there, but obviously, I mean, you could have maybe painted this. No, paint just kind of flakes off, but still moves back and forth. We have a swivel on the shackle that kind of goes. No, could have had a swivel in there, but they didn't. So you still just have a ball hinge, which actually does nothing. You don't really have any range inside of that, so wow, kind of limited in that. Does tilt side to side also just slightly, but yeah, there you go with that. For the accessories, I'm going to start it off with her sword, the Aestus, if I remember that correctly. This one, also the new version, it's a little bit different. Now, I want to have the old sword in here real quick. They have some shading in the handle in the old one, which is different. Then the gold seems to be a lot more refined and it's a lot brighter. Also, the tones on the sword itself seems a little bit more matte. The other one is a little bit more shiny. They look very, like, extremely similar. This one seems like printed on there. You can see like a little bit more dots, or the shading work kind of goes from the blue into the black. But yeah, other than the handle, don't really see that much of a difference. But you know, both swords still look pretty cool. Then we got the face sculpts, the angry grinning T-face, and like a kind of shy, sad-looking face to the side. And for those who've been wondering, can you combine... Like, I know somebody's gonna ask me if you can combine the faces, and pretty sure not, because it's like a super-duper old figure. I guess it could be done, but it's probably taking some working around. If I heat it up, maybe I could push it on there. But... you know what I'm always saying, guys? If you want to swap faces, why not swap the entire hats? You can always just remove the ball joint in the neck, and that will work. But now I can't even get the regular face on there anymore. Even is that the regular face? No. Oh, I actually did push it on there. So yes, you can swap the faces. That was that took way too long. But anyway, like okay, moving on with that. It's kind of pissing me off now. For the hand sculpts, you have the fist hands, the open hands. And this kind of pointy finger. What I'm kind of missing, I love the holding hand on the old one, where she kind of extracts the pinky, which we don't have in the new version. And we have the figma base. This is like the classic stuff. Every figma has that. You also can put this. Where is the see-through part? There's like a see-through part, which you can also put on there. There it is. I didn't find it, but you can put that on there as well. And we have a single hand with the flower, the single white rose on there. Looks very nice, and I love that they do a whole hand for that. Have a wonderful looking bouquet of white flowers, which you just tag into the hand. It's quite simple. Let me see if I get the open hand. Just slides in there, and there you go. You can have that. And then finally you have this piece, this pack, this ball hinge pack, which you can just use if your hand pack breaks off. That's what that is for. And also there's a figma back here somewhere. Where is it? There's one. I don't know if that's from the figure, but it's lying around here because they all have backs. Final thoughts, and this one is kind of tricky. First and foremost, the big question is it worth getting the new Nero if you have the old one? I don't know. It really comes down to what you prefer. I think new Nero has it has more detail. That's for sure. That's generally better, but they did kind of mess up the design, I feel like, a little bit with adding these articulation points, which don't really do much. That's why I have the bouquet just in front, because I don't want to look at that ugly freaking hinge in the torso. Kind of ruined that. Other than that, yeah, I mean, new Nero is also fairly expensive, but the figure itself, let's take the comparison part out of it. If you don't have either, I can highly recommend this Nero Bride figure because I think it looks absolutely beautiful. I haven't had any problems with the paint. The metallic parts and like the gold and the zippers and whatnot look very shiny, and I do enjoy it. It makes for a great look in general. And once again, quality control is good. Articulation works well. They did, once again, a little extra because of the butterfly joint and the hinge in the torso area, but still, overall, it's a very good looking figure with some questionable choices. But hey, if you want super articulation, you'll probably look forward to some added stuff. Overall, even though it's a little bit more expensive piece, I do think you will have fun with it, and I will recommend it. So, that's gonna do it. As usual, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget, if you enjoyed this review, hit it up with a like, and subscribe to the channel so you can stay tuned for more figure reviews, card game stuff, and whatever Nero Claudius Bride version wants.